Welcome to the EMP Media channel. In this video, we introduce you to the top 10 best thriller movies of 2021. If you want to know what the best thriller movies are, watch this video to the end. In your opinion, which thriller movies are among the top 10 movies of 2021? Please write your comments for us. In order not to miss our new videos, please subscribe us.
Number 10.
Halloween Kills is a horror and thriller film. Directed by David Gordon Green. With and stars Jamie Lee Curtis, Judy Greer, Andy Matichik, James Jude Courtney. It all started with John Carpenter's iconic 1978 original, Halloween, opening with the haunting premise of a 6-year-old Michael Myers stabbing his sister to death with a kitchen knife. Much like a majestic tree being sapped of its nutrients, Carpenter's Halloween birthed a wide range of spin-offs and sequels, some delightfully thrilling, others, not so much, leading to an uneven, yet unforgettable franchise in the horror genre. David Gordon Green's direct sequel to the original, 2018's Halloween, picked up 40 years after Michael's killing spree in Haddonfield, ending with a chilling post-credits scene that harkened back to the beginning of the end. Michael Myers is still alive. Naturally, Michael is back in Green's latest sequel, Halloween Kills, egged on by an urge to slash through as many people in his path, leaving dozens dead in his wake. Shot frenetically with delightful gore sequences, Halloween Kills adds no real path for Myers' saga and crumples beneath its own misdirection.
Number 9.
Consensus on Cannibal Carnage.
Reject.
I agree. Few cuts. I'll pass it.
Censor, a horror and mystery film. Directed by Prano Bailey Bond. With and stars Neve Algar, Michael Smiley. Set in 1985, Enid Neve Algar works as a movie censor, cutting down on films with too much horror, violence, and sex. She takes her job very seriously, making decisions day in and day out on what is sufficient enough for audiences to see when the final product is released. She is still grieving the loss of her sister, who disappeared decades prior and whose face Enid often sees in strangers passing by. Her job, typically tedious and sometimes dull, takes a turn when a man kills his family, similar to a murder he saw in a movie that got past the censors. With the public enraged and blaming Enid and her colleague for the violence, she begins spiraling after seeing a movie depicting a scene seemingly plucked from her past, and starring Alice Lee, Sophia Laporta, an actress who bears a striking resemblance to Enid's sister.
Number 8.
Who the fuck did this?
Somebody who has it out for the Metro PD? Or maybe just for Fitch.
Spiral, a horror and crime film. Directed by Darren Lynn Bousman. With and stars Chris Rock, Samuel L. Jackson, Max Minghella, Marisol Nichols. Working in the shadow of an esteemed police veteran, brash detective Ezekiel Zeke Banks and his rookie partner take charge of a grisly investigation into murders that are eerily reminiscent of the city's gruesome past. Unwittingly entrapped in a deepening mystery, Zeke finds himself at the center of the killer's morbid game. Several of the reviews reference Spiral's attempts at dealing with more substantive social themes than past Saw films. For the critics, the film makes an attempt at addressing anti-black police bias and brutality, telling that story primarily through its two black police officer main characters played by Rock and Jackson. However, the general consensus seems to be that the movie falls short of addressing those issues in any truly impactful way.
Number 7.
This is London. Someone's died in every room, in every building in this whole city.
Last Night in Soho, a horror and thriller film. Directed by Edgar Wright. With and stars Thomasin McKenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy, Matt Smith, Rita Tushingham, Michael Ajao. An aspiring fashion designer is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s where she encounters a dazzling wannabe singer. But the glamour is not all it appears to be, and the dreams of the past start to crack and splinter into something darker. Director Edgar Wright is perhaps best known as a comedic filmmaker, with his Cornetto trilogy earning him a passionate following earlier in his career. More recently, Wright has started to expand his horizons, illustrating impressive range as a helmsman. While his 2017 offering Baby Driver had humor laced throughout, it was more notable for its intricately crafted action sequences set to a diverse soundtrack. Wright's evolution continues with Last Night in Soho, a psychological horror film that blends elements of time travel and mystery into an intriguing package. Last Night in Soho is a stylish and thrilling work from Wright, bolstered by an impressive lead performance from Thomasin McKenzie.
Number 6.
Dad, I heard something.
Oh yeah, what'd you hear?
A noise.
Oh, it's just us working.
Why can't I come in with you?
Antlers, a horror and mystery film. Directed by Scott Cooper. With and stars Kerry Russell, Jesse Plemons, Jeremy Thomas, Graham Greene, Scott Hayes. A small-town Oregon teacher and her brother, the local sheriff, discover a young student is harboring a dangerous secret that could have frightening consequences. Directed by Scott Cooper from a screenplay by Cooper, C. Henry Chasen, and Nick Ancosta, who wrote the short story the film is based on, Antlers is uneven, but unequivocally intriguing and dark. Produced by acclaimed director Guillermo del Toro, Antlers has been a long time coming, postponed by delays and changing studios following Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox, of which Searchlight Pictures was a subsidiary. The film has a lot going for it even when it doesn't always know what to do with parts of its story. Despite being all over the place, Antlers can be gripping and potently disconcerting, with good character development making up for its pitfalls.
Number 5.
Are you feeling alright?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just can't remember one quite like this.
The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, a horror and thriller film. Directed by Michael Chaves. With and stars Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, Rory O'Connor, Sarah Catherine Hook, Julian Hilliard. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren encounter what would become one of the most sensational cases from their files. The fight for the soul of a young boy takes them beyond anything they'd ever seen before, to mark the first time in U.S. history that a murder suspect would claim demonic possession as a defense. After starring in 2 solo The Conjuring films, the Warrens are back in a 3rd installment and with a case that is different from the previous ones they've handled. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It combines aspects of the real-life case of Arne Cheyenne Johnson, who was the first to claim demonic possession in a murder trial, with the supernatural horror that the Warrens are familiar with. Directed by Michael Chaves, The Curse of La Llorona, from a screenplay by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It is the standout horror film of the summer. Anchored by the strength of the Warrens, the film is engrossing, with physical and psychological horror elements permeating the story to great effect.
Number 4.
sleeping here.
You want me to stay?
The Night House is a horror and thriller film. Directed by David Bruckner. With and stars Rebecca Hall, Sarah Goldberg, Bondi Curtis Hall, Evan Jonakit. Reeling from the unexpected death of her husband, Beth is left alone in the lakeside home he built for her. Soon she begins to uncover her recently deceased husband's disturbing secrets. There haven't been too many horror films that are actually scary, but The Night House certainly delivers on that front while also being a devastating and thought-provoking psychological thriller. Directed by David Bruckner from a script by Ben Collins and Luke Piotrowski, The Night House is grounded by an excellent performance from Rebecca Hall, whose shaken, resolute portrayal raises the stakes and adds a tremendous amount of depth to an already strong script. The film is replete with emotional explorations of grief and mental health. It also thoroughly terrifies through sound, visuals, and a proper build-up.
Number 3.
Have you guys heard of Candyman?
Candyman is a horror and thriller film. Directed by Nia Da Costa. With and stars Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Tiona Paris, Coleman Domingo, Nathan Stewart Jarrett. Anthony and his partner move into a loft in the now gentrified Cabrini Green, and after a chance encounter with an old-timer exposes Anthony to the true story behind Candyman, he unknowingly opens a door to a complex past that unravels his own sanity and unleashes a terrifying wave of violence. Candyman 2021 picks up approximately 30 years after the events of the original horror movie, ignoring the incidents within the sequels Farewell to the Flesh 1995 and Day of the Dead 1999, all of which starred Tony Todd as the titular villain. Directed by Da Costa and produced by Jordan Peele, the new installment follows Anthony McCoy, a Chicago artist both obsessed and haunted by the Candyman legend of the Cabrini Green neighborhood. The new Candyman keeps faithful to the original while integrating modern themes into the overall story, keeping the legend of Candyman alive.
Number 2.
I'm Detective Kakoa Shaw.
Oh, I'm Sydney Lake. I'm Madison's sister.
Malignant is a horror and thriller film. Directed by James Wan. With and stars Annabelle Wallace, Maddie Hassan, George Young, Nicole Brianna White, Jean Louisa Kelly. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities with a mysterious tie to her past. James Wan makes a commendable return to horror with Malignant, an atmospheric sojourn into the unexplored realms of the human psyche. Detracting from his usual directorial style and composition, Wan attempts to make Malignant more cerebral than the rest of his artistic oeuvre, focusing on the literal manifestation of terror amid tangible reality. Drenched in a Suspiria-like red, Malignant has its remarkable horror moments, but ultimately succumbs to a tale that is more style than substance.
Number 1.
A Quiet Place Part 2 is a horror and thriller film. Directed by John Krasinski. With and stars Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy, Millicent Simmons, Noah Jupe, John Krasinski. Following the events at home, the Abbott family now face the terrors of the outside world. Forced to venture into the unknown, they realize that the creatures that hunt by sound are not the only threats that lurk beyond the sand path. A Quiet Place was an unexpected horror film, marrying an intriguing family drama that centered guilt and perseverance with survival through silence. It embraced the use of American Sign Language as a primary communication tool to great effect. Despite having to watch the characters make some poor decisions throughout the first film, A Quiet Place was earnest, focused, and suspenseful. A Quiet Place 2, written and directed by John Krasinski, attempts to recycle much of what made the first film memorable to varying degrees of success. But what should have been an engaging, thorough exploration of an established world, the sequel doesn't go further beyond the confines of its own story. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked this video, subscribe to our channel and like the video.